what I'm saying? Okay, so I'm going to go very slowly so she can repeat everything I say. My name is Larry Brand, and I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Maryland.
I'm Larry Brand, I'm a licensed engineer.
I've been doing asbestos work since 1989.
Asbestos Sorry, it was my problem.
We did a survey of the building in Gwynn Oak at the request of your congregation and took air samples in 4 different locations.
Testing air sample
The air samples were analyzed by an electron microscope for asbestos.
air sample
None of the air samples had detectable amounts of asbestos on the samples. Asbestos is a mineral that they dig out of the ground and they grind it up and they use it in various building products.
Asbestos to lung pun khatsi valaya en lak mi sim kha ke an man mantar power bentukin namkha thil sakna le siap na phun phunan han mi se.
It's used in plaster, floor tile, the glue on floor tile called mastic.
Le ki plaster an mo la hosu ka thai lo kai themo plaster an man ma chun hi tuang e thala an mane ma thal ka e ben se ti an man go zon
The material in your new location has asbestos in the plaster and in the floor tile and in the glue under the floor tile and in pipe insulation.
Natudang biyak ini nantok miyakan kaya asbestos dia chun plaster akan tuangi thala ka tuangi atang mo bet nang dingi ko akan machun pipe e atuam tu insulation primo ma ano akan ate.
Asbestos causes cancer when you get it into your lungs. You know, it doesn't hurt if you touch it, but if you breathe it in, it can cause cancer.
Asbestos tu natuap alu akan cancer atuap ikot. You know, natong achun you know lo natuap chung alu akan cancer atuap terko.
So that's why we took air samples to see if it was in the air and could be breathed in by people inside the church.
Maruang akan athi kha kan test na kase dia kan sunglu tiga kan nan thon nan dom tiga kan nan dom chiswal la mo dia kan athi kha kan test na kase.
The material in most buildings with asbestos, as long as it's in good condition, does not pose a health threat.
Building tampi asbestos ni mi chun kha athil ri kha thate aro tuk lo ye thate ma ko akhan chun nan chen ma ji cha ti anong lo.
There are a few damaged areas in the building, the basement, the scout room, the fellowship, where some plaster and some floor tile is loose and damaged and should be removed, but that material, we took air samples near it and we did not detect high levels of asbestos.
Nan dia ina kan kati asbestos item mithil arok mitlong palong plaster asise floor tile asise mo basement asise chun room dang na kan wan umi marong akan datein thi kan test mi akan asbestos kan thi so a chun lowe ate.
The plaster material is the bigger threat because if somebody was to go in there and sweep it or vacuum it, it could get airborne.
Plaster ka di anong mai mi serong to ka plaster ka tending an pia mo vacuum in to chun ka asbestos ka mo thia na kan chuang kho.
That's why we recommend that that area with the damaged plaster be cleaned up with special tools called a HEPA vacuum. It's a special filter on the vacuum.
และมารวมกันการจนอารมณ์มีค่ะ HEPA vacuum ที่มีแทนูเดียกันมานี่จน recommend กันตัวคา vacuum ค่ะที่ special เซคับตัดหนักจริงๆคนอันเสียมีเสีย
Once those areas with the damaged asbestos is cleaned up and the building is maintained properly, there should not be any health risk associated with being in that building.
การจนอารมณ์มีค่ะอันเรื่องนี้ building ค่ะท่าเตนนั้น maintain ก็เสียจนค่ะ building ช่วงนั้นหลุดร่วงอ่ะค่ะนั่นจะเจนมาจีที่นุ่งดึงนาทีถึงส่วนแล้ว
You do have to make an effort to maintain the roof and make sure there's no water leaks so that material stays in good condition and doesn't pose a health threat.
นั่นมานั่นดาวนั่นเรียนจู building ค่ะท่าเตนนั้น maintain เป็นเขา roof ขโมยที่ท่าจุดการจน plaster เขาลงแล้วผ่าปวกทันนะจ๊ะเขาเป็นตัว building ค่ะเราเดินขันอะไรเรื่องผัดลงเราเองในท่าที่มีนั่นว่าเช่นว่าที่ลงเราเดินขันนั่น building ค่ะท่าเตนนั้นจะแข็งเขา
Eventually, as you get more money, you can spend the money to remove the plaster, but that can be very expensive, and it's not necessary unless the material is damaged.
จนนั้นมาต้องตั้งค่าตั้งเดิมนั่นเองคือว่าขั้นจนค่ะ plaster แบบนี้ค่ะชัวดีบัวชัวดีแทนที่ค่ะตัวผมมีก็เสียนาเดนอามันฝากตัวจนเฮร์ซงเฮร์เลี้ยงเราค่ะอารมณ์เราว่าจน
We are going to put together a quote to clean up the damaged areas and take care of the loose tiles, and you can get other quotes to get that done as long as you take air samples afterwards before the plastic is removed, because they do it inside a plastic bubble.
และไอ้มานี่ขั้นอามันโมกาจูอารมณ์มีค่ะเริ่มด้านและแทนด้านน่ะขั้นอามันจะได้สิลาที่มีค่ะกันมานี่กันเปียกคนนะที่คอมพานีดังจากมันขั้นค่ะตัวมันค่ะที่ได้สิที่มีค่ะอันนั้นเห็ดโคโก้นาเดนค่ะอันตัวถูกขั้นเขียนตัวที่เป็นพลาสติกอันเขียนคู่ที่มาซะเขียนมันดังอ่ะสิที่ช็อกโกแลตเสียเตียมันคู่ที่มาใส่การช่วงขั้น ear sample ตัวถูกเป็น ear sample ขนาดฐานตัวลูก
If anybody has any questions about the removal process or the testing that we did, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
และตัวเห็นคำว่าตัว asbestos testing และชัวร์ดิ้งสิแล้วกันมานี่ testing กันตัวเป็นไม่ง่ายเป็นไรขั้นไปหันตัวมีออกมาจนตัวเบแล้วก็หันรู้เลย
Sina chimman tukana hallway floor tile ka damage ka pani tumte se atam di sala ka pani tumte ka kan ma zong ni te kan dilai kan lu than ko ko lo ma ji da di license ke a wo ti lu me mo kan ni ka ti ko sa mo license ke na kan ni ka mo kun ni ka ka kha
His question is that the damaged area of the floor tile, it's not all of the tile in the hallway, not the sky room, but the hallway. It was only a small section. So he was wondering if we can actually just glue the tile back on ourselves with taking proper precautions, or do we actually need to get someone that is licensed to do that?
The state of Maryland does regulate any removal of the tile, and we do not recommend non-trained people play with it and glue it back down or anything. So we recommend that you do use a licensed contractor.
Maryland เจ้าจานี่ขั้นขับรถตัวด้านหน้าขั้นจนมันเด็กขั้นโลเดนเสียมีสแลนกันมานี่ขั้นจนอาเทียมเรามีขับรถเลยเทรนในเรามีเนี่ยตัวเด็กขั้นจนกระกันเป็นเลี้ยมเราเอง
Floor tile is made of an asphaltic material, and unless it's actually broken, it does not release fibers very easily. It's called a non-friable material.
และทาเนี่ยที่หลายคนสงสัยว่าที่พวกเขาเชื่อมีเสร็จมาค่ะอันเบลอีอักเวลว่าขั้นจนเขียบกูแล้วที่นุ่งมีค่ะสกอตเล่มเรามาค่ะ non-friable นั่นเอง non-friable จะเป็นตัว asbestos คำว่าที่เรามีที่สกอตแต่พอเรามีค่ะ non-friable นั่นเอง
The plaster, on the other hand, if you were to grab it and crush it, it could get airborne pretty easily. So the plaster is the worst material.
Na te yung plaster dan te kan so ki kan put kan lam ti kan mong kan mantara hen asbestos ku kan chwa afoi te la kha khati nung da wi chu ma kha kasi.
Hello. Vậy thì tuang carpet ki atau hallway hi bentuk kau. Ki carpet hi khudi silo aset ko lo mo ti bi pakhat chun kha thana.
His question is, what if we place, could we put carpet over the tiles on the hallway? Would that help with the asbestos? Will that work in, abating the asbestos problem?
If the tile is in good condition, when you put the carpet over it, that's perfectly acceptable.
Na tile as the carpet na siya na han good condition athat gawa han chun carpet siya ka thakaw de.
Carpet chu kan mani kan chia khau ko lo mo.
Can we place the carpet ourselves, or do we need another licensed person to do that?
You can place the carpet, but do not use carpet tack strips.
Carpet kasi naman din siya ko, and then carpet tack strip kung isa lang din kay fiyang meron like bakas pang kawo.
Building dang ta chun na khe building dang a hin mi ta tium ko bal tin bo ti si thong thang he hi bol viel hi te zai tin than tu chiao an then di chiao mo.
He said that there are a lot of other old buildings that have asbestos. What do they do with the asbestos? Do they remove the asbestos, or how do they deal with it?
You only need to remove it if it's in bad condition. For instance, when the tiles are loose and popping up, if you walk on them, they will crack.
Kan the asbestos mo ten di chua di kajo ve aro tu longa kan tua tha ta chun na ka thal na kha an ro an kong e na lam bi an koi ding sia chun kham tu longa ten ding se.
Ceiling te ha ti si ko kan kho viara kan the viara khin chun millions of di khau mi asile kho theng a haw mo.
The testing indicated that there was asbestos in the ceiling. Removing the asbestos in the ceiling would require like complete demolition of it. Would that be expensive, and would that be hard? So if that would be very expensive, that would be very hard. So should we or are we required to remove the asbestos in the ceiling?
We only recommend you remove it where it's damaged. If it's in good condition, just leave it alone and make sure you take good care of the roof.
Arong mi long ha chwa ding la ram ding in mo kan na kamin mi se athat ka wa chun asini te kan sia ka lo tha te ri bang se dia kan so kan no nan ru ka mo he ti anu da ti mu tar ha tha te nan building ka so kan no
ceiling good conditions ka umi ka paint de ti nong mo situ ka ti nong mo.
If the ceiling is in good condition, is it dangerous to apply paint on the ceiling?
That is a tricky question. Sometimes the condition already has a good layer of paint over it. So painting a new layer is okay, but other times, if it's starting to degrade, then we recommend that it be painted by a licensed professional, who has a respirator and a suit on, so that no fibers are released. So we have to further evaluate that as to whether or not you can do the painting.
Mahakatu liora chun harangai tha te in timbo sia thu mi kha athat ko sia han chun atharin achap e timbo si thu kha nga ko na te in achana chun hi atin bo si kha athat pa lo mo aro pa chang e thu kha chu ti num pai kha ban tu ba han chun tha te in ai har ai khu mi su dai khu mi mo tarin te in ai thu mi ni timbo si thu kha atha da we mahakatu nun si ni kha zo than hawi nan ma ni to kha lo kon zo than hawla.
Pakat atua hin air quality test tu asitang ye zai ma lo athiam ti se thi kha asia atua khin achunga khin kan bulu I thana kan cham ni chun atuang theng tong lo win thil dang rian kan tuen ni cleaning te ha kan tu mi hi ti ok asimo.
So the air test came back, good, that there is no asbestos in the air. But if we were to go into the building and use it, have like some prayer meeting there or do some other cleaning, is it dangerous to do that?
As long as the areas that have damaged material are left alone until they can be taken care of, it shouldn't be a problem to go into the building.
อารมณ์มีค่ะที่นั่นเรียบสิเราแลอารมณ์มีต้องเราเองอารมณ์เราหนังตัวนี้ก็อันจนที่ไปเราเป็นแบบเดลันคาร์เรนเซียงูต้องเราที่นั่นทันพอเราอันจนเป็นงานเราเอง
ที่เสียจนอาคารดังโพลอารมณ์มีค่าอินต่างนี้ตาที่มันตกเด็กครับสิลิเดอาดังจะออกมีคุ้มเหลี่ยมเลยแล้วที่จวงโพลครับคดีเสียจุงเลยขั้นโพลที่บรรทุกจนอาบุกน้ำเซนจูรี่ที่บรรทุกโพลคือดูต่อเรียกว่าหุ่นข้อเรียนจงกระตุ้นข้อสิเกาดีนักสิเกาลมมอ
Does that mean that if we avoid the rooms or the areas where there are damaged tiles or damaged areas, and we were to use and be in the room where there were no damaged areas, does that mean that it's okay to do those to be in those rooms where there are no damage?
Yes, the samples indicated that there was nothing detected in the air, and we took 4 samples, and a couple of those samples were actually in the damaged areas.
ค่ะค่ะซึ่งก็กันที่นี้มั่วค่ะที่มันที่อื่นหลังเราซึ่งไปแล้วค่ะที่กันหลังมีค่ะที่ขั้นปลีที่เทสค่ะปลีกันหลังอันปลีหนึ่งเดือนขั้นที่ยาเราที่ยาหลังแต่สุดค่ะเทสกันตัวมีค่ะอารมณ์หนักมีลีลามันหนักกันเทสมีเซกันเด
อินต่างขินหุ่นขตาอิเมร์ที่บรรทุกมอเอเรียประคัตเดขินAsbestos ที่เสกล้ออินจุงยังเหตุไอ้กายของมอเปเจจะท้องยังทันทีอนุเปเจจะท้องยังทันในงำศิลา
So if Asbestos ที่อัดสวัสดิ์ยังมออินต่างที่อัดสวัสดิ์เราที่
ตัดชนะการเห็นไปAsbestosที่เขาที่การที่เปเจยังทันในงำจุงกายของมอ
So if there was an asbestos-containing material in one room, let's say in a room that's on the first floor, would that be dangerous for the room above it, or like how far away do you have to be from the asbestos-containing material for it to be safe level?
As long as you don't stir up the damaged material or break the tile that's already loose and damaged, you're not getting an airborne concentration that's detectable.
อารมณ์มีค่านั้นตกทางเราทางนั้นหัวเราเองอารมณ์มีค่านั้นคุยไปเราเองที่อยากที่ asbestos ที่เดี๋ยวชอบเราขึ้นจนอาไปเราเอง
ประคัตเตตองนะthe last question เรียอาเซียที่กันดอกที่กันAsbestosใครที่กันดอกที่กันหินจากกันเรียนงานจนจานสาวปี expose ตัวมีอะไรอีกแล้วตัวมีบอลจากเด็กที่เสียconstruction เรียนด้วยตัวบอลที่มันตกโม่และตัวไว้ใจจะท้องกันดอกมาแค่ cancer จะเอาของมาเลยใจจะท้องกุมขัดมากุมดีมาไว้ขัดดีมาดอกที่ใจกุมที่อันนั้นและอะไรรวมจะมาค่ะเอาเดต้าจะมาค่ะมาค่ะrule and regulation ค่ะอันตัวเด็กมีสีเจ้าจานนี้จานสาวปีไอ้ดอกมีจานเด็กแค่สิเราโม่
From what I've read in literature, I found that asbestos is most dangerous for people that have, continuous exposure to it, such as construction work or people that work in, asbestos-related industry. How dangerous is it to breathe in asbestos, or be in a room that has airborne asbestos, and maybe breathe in 1 or 2 times? And all these laws and regulations that this government made, is it mostly for people that are continuously exposed to it? Or is it for like average citizens that might come into contact maybe like once in their lifetime?
The science is very clear that it does cause cancer, but a lot of things cause cancer. It is not as dangerous as smoking cigarettes.
ไป science นี่มั่วอันชิมเนี่ยงานส่วนที่นี่เห็น cancer ชั่วปีโคที่เขาจะอันชิมก็น่าจะเองเที่ยวตั้งปีนี้ cancer เรียชั่วปีโคและตัดสินนะว่าดู asbestos ที่จะกวางจุกเองไป cancer งาโคตกเห็นจนเกี่ยนงเลยเดีย
But remember, smoking cigarettes will kill you.
ไปกวางจุกนี่จะอันถ่ายทำลาย
Home inspector ni akan sini dengamu. Le nama experience ni cuma không có có som Sri Khan is sắp bị building bốc ni chun a begin vinyl tile 19 square tu giống hi 19 square vinyl tile si ini episode atelati nang te zumo hi vinyl tile 19 square si hi episode simhamo to ceiling zong ka hi ai lo bak mi se like test si lo episode ông có dùng câu nang na te zumo ka ji tin da maintain ha.
What, based on what our home inspector told us, and probably from our experience too, a lot of buildings built before the 1970s had the 9-inch vinyl tile, and those contains asbestos. And this ceiling is very similar to the ceiling that in the church that we bought. In your experience, or in your opinion, do you think the tile and the ceiling, if we tested them, do you think they would contain asbestos?
There is a 90% chance that tile right there has asbestos. About a 40% chance that ceiling has asbestos.
Zakada somkwa mo hitali asbestos umen kauladia kazumate ceiling itu zakada somli mo 40% umladia kazume.
Let me get my respirator.
EPA US government public how many passengers? No idea. There percentage there's a more EPA reclaim to me more percentage there's a to sign like up more. Just to long term settlement check me is just in the percentage is a here EPA he government sign like company set up near name to long term
okay. Is there a level, like for example, like this certain asbestos level above this concentration is dangerous? Is there like a cutoff that EPA or other science literature set?
Yes, what they call the clearance criteria that the EPA sets is 70 structures per millimeter square on a TEM sample, and we didn't detect anything, so we didn't detect any structures at all. But there's another type of test we do called a phase contrast test, and that level for the clearance criteria is 0.01 fibers per cc, and a cc is like a sugar cube. It's very small.
Vậy EPA đi test anh tuổi mình trả phân chuẩn bị khai chỉ trả lông tỷ lệ 70 millimeter square cho cái gì khác của mình thì sẽ là thế khi tiền là cái somseri structure của khi tiền khi safe anh tỷ lệ từ cái test mi anh bắt khát tỷ structure bắt khát tỷ dòng phân mù lâu ấy để khi cái test mi anh
Kan dulu kan aman kan saya sendiri cakap masalah mà cả cái tiếng mà khổ gì mà thì rồi nhé không chỉ cái chuyện cuối mà thì bây giờ cái chuyện là the company mình sẽ là cái chuyện không for some people
So Baltimore County.
is a we removed
Okay. The state of Maryland allows some homeowners to take asbestos to a landfill, but most landfills in Maryland will not accept it if you tell them it has asbestos. When we do removal, we actually ship it to Ohio to a special landfill.
Vậy cho ra đi hiện về Maryland in này tụ chưa có chân mặt cái asbestos không mua không khẩn năng liên phi là hiện khẩn đi hiện anh sẽ câu na tên khai liên phi bộ khai hôm hot nak len thil pol khamo hi kan na khonding mi hi asbestos ti nan chip na chon anin lat kha pya tu na lo te kan ni kan then yak na chon te kha asbestos ai te bil te kha Ohio khwa khan kan makot na te Ohio khwa khawon tok lat khan na zung kha ka dira cho mun kan nei wanga
kan man he mu sala kan ju ko ai ko ta sala ya ko ni kan man ta ta ni ke kan ma sala ma ti
so kan ma
se kan ma ta ta se tangka set na kan ma kripa bu kan set na he then ya sala he tu than sala air quality test tu kan ma he a than ha salaก็ปากันเสียบดาที่มีจ่าทันเป็นที่มีส่วนอามาเนี่ยจนลายเส้นนี้ removal ปฏิรูปขั้นกันมาตัวนี้เทียบนี้อันมาอีเทสท่านมีเทียบแล้วที่มีส่วนตัวนี้
นั่นเป็นอะไรมีกันเชียวแล้วอ่างมองเสียมอง
กันมานี่ตัวอีอดีตหัวอันมาเชสเตอร์ทางอันนั้น
Okay. So if we had the area or any damaged area or the asbestos abated ourselves, and afterward, can we call your company again to test the air quality for asbestos?
Once again, the state of Maryland allows homeowners in their own home to remove the asbestos if they want to wear the mask. You can't remove it from a commercial building like a church.
In the kumu an ma in te cha khan chun ve chawzani khan an asbestos umi khan chun thending a khan alat khan ko nan ma te tha te ni thoma khan chun na te in ki business building atu bia en te pon na cha khan chun chawzani alat adu lo we
Okay, kema kawan vela ka your check ka việc cho dũng dàng kan phan chang lai sa khan ve khat che ta zai thapai sa ti to chon kum khata ve zat na sa the thau la kum hi dana ma kum khata ve thum mo ti ban tok chi kum nga dana ko ti ban tok ka bo khate ni ka chi ko
As for the air quality test, we already got it tested once. Can you tell us how much it costs and how often we will have to continue to test in the future once we actually occupy the building?
Let me check the invoice.
อามันก็จะภายสากันหลังนี่ค่ะกันจากนั้นเป็นวันนี้กันชิงคนฮะไอ้ข้าได้จะเรียนเสียมาจนtest sample ปักตัวหันจะคัดเสีย so จะเรียน plus room ปลีกันตัวรวมอ่ะคันจะนี่ so จะเรียน plus จะนี่ตัว
It cost $800 to test 4 samples, and any additional sample was going to be another $100.
But then, do we need to test it every year, or how often do we have to keep testing?
We only recommend testing if a new damage event occurs. So if a really bad storm occurs and you get a roof leak and more comes down, then before you enter that area, we recommend an air sample then.
Air samples can recommend me to nan hun mu pakatเพราะหากเป็นอารมณ์ลงอ่ะคันขาอารมณ์นำคนนั้นรู้ทันอ่ะคันรันเอาแต่ testing กันตัวเต่าแต่ส่วนนะคะนี่ความขัดแย้งตรงเซลล์เราเป็นส่วนตรงเซลล์เรานั่นรู้เป็นคันที่ก็จะเซลล์เรารู้นักข่าวเซลล์เราที่รองอีกทางเซลล์เราที่เวเซลล์เรามั่วจิมเซลล์เราแบบฟูสวัสดิ์กันคันคำตัวนั้นรู้ทันอ่ะคันเอาเสา
And before the plastic comes down, after removal, the air has to be tested.
จนที่เป็นตัวอันเดียวโมอันเดียวพลาสติกที่ฉันพูดดีจบคนต่างกันเป็นสองพลาสติกอย่างกันนะคะพลาสติกค่ะอันแทนค่ะค่ะพลาสติกค่ะอันฟิล์มค่ะนะคะค่ะชุ่มดีค่ะ sample ที่ค่ะ test ค่ะเว้ย
price take now in the kan square footage in the price and la
For the abatement of asbestos, how is it priced? Is it like, per square foot, per linear square foot? How does it work?
There are some ballpark numbers that use square foot, but we prefer to talk to the client, figure out exactly what area they want done, and then just give them one number that includes all the removal, the disposal, and the cleanup, and the air testing.
Square foot more hit yet says it's from a salad. He's a thousand dealer, the optimism of God and Canadian can ma can kind and Piero, a gas of Hida, tenant to Reverend and do the Kahal Simon, a deal of day, a teaching me more, Swatman, 10 months, 12 years, a deal of day, a deal of me. I'm a pocket there.
The ballpark number is about $20 to $25 a square foot.
As a strong as way square foot bakadakin dollar kul langa salay.
Pakate ka man na ita, via anni in tampi atu le hibantuk lay tuan vaula tu an sija indam pi building tampi alut mi an sijang lai vasiko jua chun atu ikan ni biak in a condition ki zai tuk chia le thai an hei mu mi pi ni hei man awa kin 0 to 10 ki level te ken bari du an se la hoi dang he building dang an kal ton ni he compare te ka kin a chia ngai ki ma sia che ne ki condition ki sia 0 to 10 akam ban pe ni se la ro na kan mo.
You have probably worked in a lot of old buildings similar to the church, and compared to other buildings that you've worked with, how would you rate the condition of our church? Like from 0 to 10, I guess 0 being really bad and 10 being really good.
Because you do have damaged asbestos, was 10 good?
Yes, 10 is good.
You're probably like a 3 or a 4 because you do have some damaged friable asbestos on the floor in 1 or 2 rooms. So we would recommend that you get it taken care of. Once it's taken care of, you can go back to 10.
10 katat na so mo zero matalo tin ka sala arok na tong pal nan nei ro nga kan 4 or 5, right? You said 4 or 5? 3 or 4? Betul la beli kholan sala ede kazon ne ya kan nan 10 ka so pahan sala ede.
Aman deke tingkulating Sri sila aman ikan ay trandiam bunga.
This is non-related to Asbestos, but we paid 2.7 million for the church. Do you think the price is worth the condition and the church is worth it?
I have.
Okay, do you have a globe there?
Any other questions?
Refusos ilo azapin exposures in arok number ke. Refusos ilo total can estimate ke square feet ila kasina. Aman kada ito siya ko na ringa.
If we were to fix all the damaged area, just a ballpark, we're not going to hold you accountable, so just a ballpark, how many square feet do you think it would be and how much do you think it would cost?
We use a couple of different firms that we work with, and I need to get back in there with them to get you the quote yet. We still haven't revisited since preparing the report. So I will work to get back in there and get that quote together soon, hopefully next week.
Makakatso ki complete ang tampihan mo katet ni katatuan mi kan si kabiyan song ha kan lutri law kan mo kung kon the first kan to kan lutri law la kapol katso kaso mo na kan si patate anak.
Pakat asin hal awan thelaw via chat dang mo business dang mo building ngai mi Asbestos chiu people ni hin zai tuk in than ti chiu kan ma ban tuk ren ti ve ha mo.
In your opinion, do you think owners of buildings or other occupants of buildings that have asbestos, do you think they are scared of asbestos as we are, or how compared to us?
from the laughing going on, I don't think we have a lot of scared people here.
Hey, kalau nan ni dan kata ini ati mi umem lah nan umwala way ketika way deh.
Dalam kongsi alhamdulillah semua hal semua personal aman dalam friable team dan non-friable team zone ini can you explain a little bit about this one? Okay, mahi kongsi pro ni ngap jing ngam sona mo ngam tak nak ada dalam non-friable pose anle kan so ma je mahi zone pe habis tu dah baik achievement they can achieve the kind of things of the area.
Can you explain the difference between non-friable asbestos or friable asbestos and why the employer might accept non-friable and not the friable one?
Sure, I talked about that earlier. When you can crumble it to a powder using your normal hands, no tools, then it's called friable. Floor tile, if it's in good condition, you can't just pick it up and crumble it into a powder with your bare hands. You have to hit it with a sledgehammer. So floor tile is considered non-friable. A plaster in bad condition, you can reach up on a ladder and crumble it. So it depends on how many coats of paint and what condition that plaster is in as to whether or not we're going to call it friable or non-friable. The plaster in bad condition is definitely friable.
Like friable and non-friable thing is more friable. So nan good nan thazang ma thazang ki sobul the bol tok tak tu dang hano nang na kutte lo thazang in na la khoi na man tar khoi powder mu tu da tar kho kan chen ma friable se de but the friable ka ti nong mi mo haban the floor tile hi jo tampi ni ka an ma kutte lo an la and powder an chen tar kho lo good condition ko wa chen khalo kan ti nong lo na de plaster ko jo ki adang sidi dang jiao na de in ki atim bo si thu mi he adang dang ki ai nei che da de atam ko jo nan kut in ken nan la kho in powder in ken nan man tar kho to ko jo friable mo ti nong mi ka se eta
Aku kan biarin ki dari kayak gimana sampai tu ambil sinamu an report sama nanti adang demi kisu ki tin lau ki sekarang room long kah dapat demi cetam mise di hallway nak kita pagi tum desa John fellowship hall akan ceiling ka 1 square foot de ka damage ni kate kana ka chu patch things ko lo ma tiam minimum the whole ceiling ka remove hollows ko lo ma John sekarang ka chu tomba thala pong mi cha ta kan in ka khar ri usilor ri lo in ti nung me mo year sample donga thian ko i cha mu le hallway na ka chu tal ka ni khatte si ka chu aman jong phak le me lo I khazi ka ro na
He was also there with Derek while he did the report. As for the damage area, there is one with a scout room is in the basement all the way to a separate wing in the building. If we just keep the door to that closed and isolated, would it be dangerous to use other part? And also, the damaged area on the hallway tiles is only a very small square foot, so that probably would be as expensive to abate and remove and fix. And as for the plaster that's damaged in the ceiling of the fellowship room, can we just patch that plaster up, or do you have to remove the whole plaster in the on the ceiling in that room?
It comes down to economics. When you do a plaster removal, you have to seal up the whole room. So at that point, it's sometimes, if you just want to do a small section, it'll still cost a lot of money per square foot. So sometimes it's better just to do that whole room, but we can talk to you about that. We'll only do what you want to do.
Kung sila aja niya kami din timi songke katilong to kan fakala sa aman faklum sila sa na tirak te to anak mo takan sa kan ki tua thada me la den ma kan ma he kan so na den man tuning po kan ram ko ko